Well, in his latest film, The Little Things, he plays a man suspected of being a serial killer, and he keeps us guessing the entire time. I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby. With me is Oscar winner Jared Leto. And this character is so interesting because it seems, from my point of view, it seems like a just a sandbox to play in as an actor. It seems like it could have been taken in so many different directions. So I'm curious, how did you land on your specific interpretation? What inspired you to play it the way you did?
It's a great question. Thanks for having me today, by the way. Um, it is a sandbox to play in, and it's a big one, a fun one. And I got to play in it with, two really incredible actors, and Rami Malek and the great Denzel Washington, one of my heroes. You know, I think when I start research or start the prep process for a role, I just start asking questions and questions and more questions and questions about those questions. And as you start to kind of experiment, fail, you start to find some answers, maybe some solutions, and you run with those. Sometimes it's a dead end, sometimes it takes you somewhere else. So I love that process. It's really exciting for me. I love the discovery. You become a detective of sorts. You become a writer of this character. And Albert Sparma was basically a blank canvas. So it was really, really fun to dig in and be a part of that process.
Yeah, the aspect that stuck out most to me, I think, was the voice you used. He speaks from such a centered, calming place, but it's sort of unnerving in a way. And so, how did you kind of twist that? The sense of calm becomes sort of unnerving to these two detectives. Where did you land on that?
I appreciate you pointing that out because I did spend a lot of time working on it. Uh, I just thought that Albert Sparman, just from the name itself, that he's different. And I thought that the way that he behaves, probably like he wants to connect to people, but he has a hard time. And I don't think he knows why or how to solve that problem. Sometimes he's not even aware of that problem. But I did think that he thinks he's quite in command of his faculties, the way that he walks and the way that he talks. His rhythm is a lot, slower, and like you said, centered. Um, but there's also a part of them that kind of keeps people off balance. And I thought that the voice was really important with that. His sense of humor was really important. That was a tool that he used to
Hmm.
keep people off balance. But um, yeah, the voice was a real strong kind of hook into the character for me.
Yeah, I think the one of the best examples of you keeping everyone off balance is that interrogation scene you have with Denzel and Rami. And I'm just curious from your perspective. It seems like he's just playing with these guys when he's brought in for questioning. Is there sort of an objective for him when you're playing it behind that scene, or is he really there just to unnerve and to sort of cause chaos?
Yeah, there's always an objective, and but part of that was to serve up some chaos. And I think that he enjoys interacting with the detectives, especially Deke's character, Denzel's character, Deke. Uh, I feel like he found a partner in crime, no pun intended. He found somebody that really he can relate to. I think Sparma is quite a bright guy, and being a crime buff, an amateur detective of sorts, I think that he really is excited about the prospect of working with these two detectives to, see if he can help in some way. But also, you know, uh, it enjoys that uncomfortable um, silence or space that other people might avoid. He kind of
Mhm.
dives right into that.
Yeah. And Denzel, of course, you mentioned, he's such a revered actor, and you have such intense material with him. What kind of atmosphere, though, does he bring on to set with him?
A professional one, and you get the sense that he's there to do his job, and that's the priority. Um, and I really love that and respect that. We had a kind of unspoken uh, agreement, uh, and I think it was a wise one. We saved all of our energy for that time where the cameras were rolling, and we saved everything for that, and that was quite a beautiful thing because it made the moments even more charged up. So there wasn't, the set, there was what was quite beautiful about the set is there was this just feeling of mutual respect, between Rami and Denzel and me and the directors and producers, the crew. Like, it just was a group that we all kind of, there was a feeling of support and faith that people had in one another. And Denzel gave that to me. It was a great gift. The director, Rami, and they really, because Albert Sparma, it's really, he's kind of out there. And, so they really gave me a beautiful gesture and having faith in me and what I was doing. So I'm really thankful to them.
The writer and director you mentioned is John Lee Hancock, and he actually wrote this script almost 30 years ago. And it's just sort of, he's been living with it, and it's hasn't been made until now. Um, but because your character is so sort of unpredictable and getting under people's skin, did he sort of try to guide you in a certain way of conversations of, is he guilty, is he not guilty? There's so many questions surrounding Mr. Sparma.
Well, I certainly had a lot of questions for John Lee Hancock, and we put together sort of a logic board. If he did it, first of all, did he do it? Did he not? How does he have this information? Why is he at this specific place at this specific time of day? And that was interesting. It made the film really fascinating to work on. And like I said before, it was very transformative part, transformational
Mm-hmm.
part, in every way possible. I had different color eyes, a different nose, different teeth, a different walk, a different way of speaking, as you pointed out. Um, and that's one of the reasons I took on the role. I didn't want to just kind of walk in and, like play a suspect or something.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to really see if we could bring to life a brand new person, something I hadn't explored before, maybe something I hadn't been seen in quite that way.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think a lot of your roles would be described as transformative, because you're never sort of the same movie to movie, whether it's physically or vocally. And yet there are similarities between characters. Like, I could draw a comparison, maybe some similarities to like your version of the Joker because of Sparma's sort of unpredictable behavior. Is it hard to sort of look at something similar and create a different character off of it if you've played something similar before? Is there a tendency to want to fall back on something?
I don't, it's a great question. And I do think that there will be similarities just because, like, we all have the same blood type. And, you know, uh, sometimes you have the same eyes or you have the same teeth, or, it's quite strange to develop like a different laugh, something that's usually reflexive and in ways like, I don't know if subconscious is the right word, but it's an autonomous response. So when you create a new one, that's like inputting new information, like going from the physical to the mental. It's a very strange thing to do, but um, yeah, and I don't think it's a bad thing that there can be similarities between characters, just like when a writer writes different books or a painter uh, makes look at Andy Warhol. There's consistency throughout his whole career. and with quite a few things that he did. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm interested in kind of reaching into the edges and seeing how far I can go.
Well, it goes pretty far. And, as you're transforming, many people have sort of described you as a method actor and because you get lost in these roles. But if something is very heavy or, we're talking about murders here, it can be quite disturbing. Does that sort of getting lost in that, does that ever come home with you at all?
I mean, it can, but I think it's quite normal, to be honest. If you're studying like crime scene reports and FBI transcripts and watching as much footage as you can of real life, crimes and murders and killers and cases, like anything, it can be like binge watching something, or you read a book or you spend too much time in a subject, you kind of need a break at a certain point. So I think it's all pretty normal. And then if you put in behavior like a different way of walking or talking, and that becomes habit after a few months, sometimes yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit of time. And in a film like this, so dark, it was really quite challenging to shed some of that skin. But
Mhm.
the great gift was that he did have this kind of wild, unpredictable sense of humor as well. So that was a little bit, it created a little ballast. And I was happy about that.
Did that sort of unpredictableness result in a lot of, like, did you do a bunch of different styles of takes to sort of offer different things, or did you have a very clear direction for each time?
I mean, once this was a full, this is kind of hard to explain, but it's like once these characters are born into the world, for lack of a better word, I can't think of something more eloquent to say right now, but once you kind of give birth to them, uh, they're out there, and you can be surprised by what you find, and it kind of takes on a life of its own. So yeah, from take to take, it can you I like to experiment quite a bit, and with this film and other films I've done, I tend to bring quite a few improvisation, kind of loose ideas and ad libs. And sometimes they're not physical. They can be. I mean, sometimes they're not verbal. They could be even physical or something. But I try to do that, and in this case, it was helpful because Albert Sparma really used those tools to create to
Hmm.
surprise others.
Um, and you've done so many different types of movies over the years, ranging from all different genres to big blockbusters to smaller films. Is there anything that you haven't explored yet on screen that you are dying to?
Rom-coms. I actually haven't seen too many rom-coms. I've watched a few in during COVID days. Like I never saw When Harry Met Sally,
Mm.
so I watched that, and I thought that was fun. And then I watched a couple others that weren't so fun. So no, I feel pretty satisfied. Um, I've never been in a hurry to like make the most films or act, uh, incessantly. Maybe it's because the roles or the films that I do are sometimes you need a little break after
Mhm.
you're done with them. But I'm excited by what I'm doing and the opportunities I'm having. I'm really grateful for it. I feel super fortunate that people come to me now with like a problem to solve, which is it's just crazy. Like, be careful what you ask for. I was joking the other day, like, I could never just like get a role where I show up and 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 just try to be charming, right? And I'm like the biggest challenge of the day is like not eating the pasta at lunch, because you got to stay in shape for your love scene or something. But uh, uh, not to say there isn't great skill in that as well. I mean, there are people that I really adore that are so great at those sorts of things. But I do at the same time feel really lucky that people come to me with the rather complex problems to solve. And um, but yeah, maybe someday we'll shoot the rom-com in Hawaii or somewhere perfect, and then I'll learn how hard it is, and I'll beg to go back to my corner.
Well, one thing that you do get to go back to, which is a cool thing that's happened with another movie for you, is you're actually revisiting that Joker character in the Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League coming out. And it was really cool to watch that play out because it was sort of this fan thing that everyone demanded the Snyder cut. And those things so rarely actually come through, but now it seems to come through. So what was it like watching that play out and now getting the chance to go back and film with them?
I don't know if I can confirm or deny any
Oh, no. Well,
rumors, but yeah, it is cool. I mean, I think it's, first of all, the fans of the DC universe and the Marvel universe are really incredible. Like, I'm in a band, and I always hated the word fans because it seemed a little dismissive or something. Comes from the word fanatic, and I was like, I always was uncomfortable with that. But I guess what I do appreciate about the description is, and I think the core of it is passion. So and the reason that Zach is doing what he's doing now is because of the passion of the fans out there. And it also, there's when there's passion, sometimes you have a little conflict, sometimes things can be polarizing, but I love the passion. And I think the world is Zach, and I think he's just an incredible filmmaker, and I'm so happy that he gets the chance to tell the story in the way that he wants to tell it, and that there's more time to tell it in. I think that's really great. And yeah, I just think the world of him and what he's doing.
well, before I have to let you go, I wanted to also ask, because we're a few years removed now from when you won your Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club. Very deserving performance there, and I'm curious as to what the effect has been afterwards. Have you seen sort of a different type of role being presented to you after your Oscar win?
Yeah, I think it's been 5 or 6 years now, and it was a unforgettable time, a really beautiful experience. I got to share all that with my family and my friends and the people that have supported me for so long, and that I think was the best part, to take the light that shines your way and kind of redirect it towards other things. And I never thought that would ever, that wasn't in my, it wasn't a part of my dreams, to be honest. I didn't really think that I would ever win awards, or really, I didn't focus on that. It was just kind of completely so far outside of what I was thinking about. But yeah, I've seen that, like I said before, the thing that I guess I'm really grateful for is people tend to come to me with, roles that are challenging and transformative or transformational. And that's great. I really appreciate that, and appreciate people's faith that I can kind of try to take something and make something worthy, make something meaningful from it, hopefully.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me, Jared. Everyone who's out there watching, make sure you subscribe to Gold Derby and keep in touch with us throughout the season. Jared, thanks once again.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me, brother.
Thanks.